This place is amazing. I just had to film this and put it into a video. It's just amazing how nice this place is. Look at it. Yeah, so many of the developing countries in Asia, they're really taking over. People who are in the know, anyone that can look at the GDPs of all the countries, they know Asia's the future. This place is dominating. In the past, it was just small little shops that they would build, and they'd only build little malls that were for mainly for foreigners. But then gradually they started building up their own industries, and it's amazing actually. Look at this. And you can't even really find places this beautiful in Australia. It's amazing. Look at that. What is that one doing? I don't know. Looks suspicious to me. But body count. That's the topic of today. I saw a guy talking about body count. He was a coach, and there's a little bit of drama. I know I'm not really involved in the drama, and I don't really care too much these days. I'm just doing my own thing. I got bored with it. But body count, let's just start with my body count, even just for this year, and where it's come from, and why I'm talking about it, etc. But before we kick it off, I'm Dave, anyway. Top link in the description, you can check out my website. The whole purpose of these videos and me discussing these topics is because I'm coaching cold approach. So if you're struggling in your dating life, you can check out my website and sign up and do some coaching with myself. I'm based in Sydney, Australia. But body count. So a coach, a guy who's coaching men. Now, this is a controversial topic. What is someone's body count? It's weird because I saw a guy, one of these videos popped up last night, and I had a bit of time, so I was like, oh, I'll watch it. I'll watch watch a little bit of this debate. A few people were talking about it. I was like, oh, I'll watch it. And there was a bit of criticism around one coach, and that coach was questioned about his body count. Now, if you're a coach, I don't mean to be crude, but with a lot of experience and a lot of lays, then you get to the point where you should be able to coach. Not approaches. You can do 1 billion approaches, 1 million approaches. You can do 1 trillion approaches. The most important thing is lays. So you can do 1 million failed approaches. That's not counted. You can have the best infields in the world. Unless you're getting laid, it still doesn't matter. It still doesn't count. So, but also, where are those lays coming from? We're not going to get into the nitty-gritty of all of that. Are they easy lays? Are you punching down? Are you doing it in easy countries, etc.? I'll touch on that with my own body count at the moment. We're going to try to decipher it. I also had one of my regulars, one of my favorite regulars, who watches this channel, asked me what my body count is, because she's been watching my channel. And I was like, it's large. I don't know how large exactly. But we're going to try to figure that out today. So for instance, let's start off with my body count. I started out in Australia, Sydney, Australia. And before my 22nd birthday, before I turned 22, sorry, I had a body count of 50. So that was I hit the ground kind of running, lost my virginity at 16. And those 50, they were all Australian girls. So they were Australian girls. There's no other way to say it. Also, during that time period, the phones that we had didn't have cameras, and they when you text people, the most advanced thing that you could do in a text was, instead of sending you, as in YOU, you sent just the U. That was advanced. Or you wanted to try and make a symbol, you would have to do it just with the characters in the alphabet. That's how backwards it was. There was no touch screens. It was just these dodgy Blackberries and Nokias. Now, that meant that getting a girl's number and going through all of those strategies for my first 50 lays were off the table. That meant that if I got a girl's number, I was calling her home and her parents could answer the phone, and I would have to ask for her. Or I'd have to line up a date at a specific time and a location to try and meet her. So game was very different, and also there was no online dating, there was no Tinder or anything like that. So that during my prime years, I would say my prime years, between say 18 and 25, when I'm like at my fittest, most healthiest, and I didn't have access to Tinder, so that means that during that time period I didn't have the ability to pipeline a ton of numbers, which would have been far more easier for me in my, under 25, in my 20s in general. So that count could have been higher, but 50 back then, without all the technology we have today, means that it was a lot more difficult, and that 50 was a lot more valuable. So hopefully that makes sense. A lot of people won't fully understand that, but imagine a total another world, almost like an alternate universe where you don't have social media. You have no way of checking someone out except for their personality and their social skills when you meet them, and what other people say about them. You would have to either pull directly from a nightclub or a party, or during the daytime. Otherwise you were never going to meet a girl or date a girl. It was either through work, or it was through university, or it was through house parties, and most of mine were through house parties. It was house parties, nightclubs. They were the main source of the girls that I would meet. Social circle, not too much, because as soon as you sleep with one girl, you'll burn the whole thing to the ground. So those 50 lays before I hit 22, I would say, like if we're thinking about this in a competitive sense, a skill level sense, I had to outcompete a lot of fit and healthy men to do that. They were all taller than me, all very fit. I was hanging out with surfers and rugby players, so it wasn't like I was punching down and playing on easy level. And on top of that, they were the most difficult girls. They were also very attractive girls. So anyway, so the first 50 on a higher difficulty level. Then I didn't really go overseas until I was in probably my first trip was in my very, very late 20s. I was fascinated by China and their economy and how they were building their military and how they were kind of a geopolitical threat, and I was just curious as to what was going on over there for all those factors. So I traveled there, Hong Kong, China, and they weren't really pickup sessions. And now there was a long period there. I've had multiple operations on my hips. You have your leg cut off and sewed back together. That does put you out of commission for a short period of time, maybe 6 months, because you can't even walk. You have to take into all of those things all into account. But on average, I would say I was probably, I'd meet maybe 15 to 25 on a very good year. On average, I would sleep with that many girls per year over the course of a decade, 15 years. So you can easily put another easy 250 lays over the last decade on top of that 50, and you could probably for a 5-year period add around the same. So this isn't like needing to overstate it. It's just, if you're just consistently doing your thing, it's hard not to have a large body count. It's really difficult to not have a body count in the hundreds, just in my opinion. Because if you're consistently let's just say for the last decade I only slept with 10 girls per year, and it would be difficult for me to just sleep with 10 girls a year. That's 100 lays in the last decade. That's like, I don't know. I don't know how I wouldn't accidentally sleep with more than 10 a year. It'd be difficult not to. So we're looking at a good, 300, and then there's another decade, maybe 15 years that's unaccounted for. So it could be like, I don't know, 400, 450 would be an estimate. I'd say definitely, if we were to just be conservative, because I don't want to be overstating the body count, I don't want to be exaggerating, because that's what people they're against. They're against people exaggerating and overstate. There's lots of people that exaggerate for marketing purposes. But let's just say 300 from Australia as an absolute conservative estimate, and the vast majority of those are through cold approach. A large percentage is nightclubs, a large percentage would have to be nightclubs and house parties. I'd say house parties were a great spot to get laid for the majority of my life. I thought they were a gold mine. Whenever I heard of a house party, I thought, perfect. I'm gonna meet some girls tonight. Yeah, you just walk around the block and everything changes here. Look at this. The economy's kind of collapsed, and the prices have actually got more expensive while they've locked down everything and stolen everybody's jobs. So the middle class has less money, while simultaneously everything's getting more expensive. The middle class in Asia is getting kind of screwed, while the wealthy are just living really nice lives. It's really unfair what's going on, and you can see it. People have left the cities. You can see there's lots of motorbikes out here. I'm not sure if that is by choice or they can't afford a car. Yeah, so body counting, say 300. Now, there is a bunch of incels, and that's what they are. There's only a small amount of incel losers that have left comments on the channel saying that I only pick up Asian girls and I do it in Asia and it's on easy level. Well, it's not. It's on the highest difficulty level. I'm in my 40s. I'm disabled. I'm a little bit pudgy, which makes it difficult for me to keep my weight under control. And if 300 are from Australia, in a first world country, wealthy country, competing with men that are in their 20s, with all of the disadvantages I have, how can that not be interpreted as advanced? Now, how many times have I traveled overseas in the last, I don't know, 5 years? So it was about 5 years ago I did one trip to Indonesia for literally 2 weeks. So one trip in about 5 years or more, maybe 6 or 7 years, to Indonesia. That was it. And it was only for about 14 days. It wasn't a month, it wasn't 3 weeks, it was 2 weeks. That's it. So for those that wanted to criticize me and say it's on easy level, well, 2 weeks in 7 years, that's the beginning part. Only this year I did 3 trips. So for about 7 years there I only did 1 trip to Indonesia, and this year I've done more traveling than I have in my entire life. I did about 3 weeks, almost a month, because that's how long the visa is, to multiple cities. I've checked out, there's Bangkok, Manila in the Philippines, and Indonesia. So these are the 3 countries that I checked out this year, in about three weeks or so each. Now, most of the time I was coaching other guys, so I didn't get a lot of time to just game. I've got a lot of time to game now because I met up with Brad, and he's not the best at games, so I'm not going to be doing any business or collabs with him, because we're effectively on different levels. I'm on another level. I think he's aware that I'm on another level now too. But so we could say, like, just to over exaggerate the amount of time I've been here, let's just say 3 months in 2022 I've been in Asia. And let's just like overstate it, exaggerate it. And actually I might walk around here. Let's over exaggerate it and then estimate how many lays in each of these Asian countries, because it has created a bit of a mess with my lay count. It's made a massive mess with my lay count now, because there were a few times where I would sleep with 3 different girls in one day. And if you're looking at, like if you're looking at 90 days, which is, let's just say 80 days or 70 days to be safe, and I'm sleeping with, on average, a new girl every day, that's easy another, let's just be conservative and say 70, let's just say it's another 70 lays, because it's easier in Asia. There are guys that criticize my game and say that it's easier to pick up Asian girls in general. Well, come to Sydney, motherfucker, and show me what you got. We'll do a live pickup challenge. I don't care who you are, and show us what you got. Go pick up some Asian girls and show us your skills. Show us how easy it is. It's easy getting Asian girls in Asia if they're poor. It's difficult getting highly educated, wealthy Asian girls in Australia when they're wealthier than you. They're more educated than you. Everybody wants them. They're the most desired girls in the country, because very few people want a meathead Australian girl, and very few want an Aboriginal or any other type of girl that's in Australia. There are the losers that go for the chubby Colombians. That's really punching down. That's not even counted because they're just visa hunters. But the highly educated Asian girls that come from wealthy families, and they're smarter than you, everybody wants them, they're in fact difficult. So on top of, let's just say 300 lays as a conservative estimate, through Cold Approach in Australia, we add 2 weeks that I did a trip to Indonesia. It was about 4 or 5 years ago, and you can add another 14 to that easy. I think I got more. I think I got 15 in 14 days. And it's not really the numbers, because some of them are awesome. Like I kept some of them and would sleep with a new girl every day on the side. As you know, like if you're there for 2 weeks, you go on a bit of a rampage, you go home exhausted. That's just what you do. And then as a conservative estimate, doing a conservative amount of days, which is probably like 80 or 70 days, and you can probably just say 70 new lays on top of the extra 15 as well. That's like another 85 lays. This year alone, I might have cracked 100 lays in 1 year already. You got to keep in mind, like there was a few degenerate days where I slept with 2 girls in 1 day, and there were some days where I was absolutely wrecked. I did 3 in 1 day. So there's a few days like that, and let's just round it down just to be conservative. So 350, which is conservative in Australia, in a first world country, and you can add 75 to be conservative as well, but it's got to be way over 100 from Asian countries. So let's just say 375 would be the most conservative estimate of what my lay count would be at the moment, but I would say we got to be looking at 500, 600 or more. And if I was like most of the coaches out there, traveling this much every year, if I actually lived in one of these countries, I could definitely do 200 in 1 year, just accidentally, like not even trying. Just like having fun with it, I could do 200 easy. So let's just say my lay count's about 375, approximately 300 through Cold Approach in Australia, about 75 in third world countries on easy level. I haven't been to South America, so I haven't been to arguably the easiest place in the world. The reason why I say that is because there's a guy that was doing that harem challenge, harem quest he called it, and what he was doing was getting as many girls as he possibly could together and dating multiple girls simultaneously. And when he went to South America, as an American, he found himself with like 11 or 12 or 13 or 15 girls all living with him simultaneously together, and it was a piece of cake for him. And he doesn't come across as a very nice guy or very charismatic. He just seems very, he doesn't seem like the type of guy that has a lot of game. I could be wrong. He might be a master, but I don't think so. And he managed to do that in South America, yet that same guy then went to what's known as one of the easiest places to pick up girls, the Philippines, and he's struggling to build his his harem up to 3. He keeps losing them. Yeah, there are intelligence factors too. You know, Asian girls are just more intelligent. They see the chessboard more clearly. There's less drugs and alcohol involved. There's a lot of factors there, and I'd argue that I don't want to bother arguing the point that Asia's more difficult than South America, because a lot of people disagree because they see the skin color of the South Americans and just assume that they have to be of higher quality. But this Harem Quest dude is prime example of someone who is struggling to get his harem to get together in Asia, one of the easiest countries in Asia, yet he was in one of the easiest countries in South America and had unlimited girls living with him. Unlimited. He's probably living with hundreds of girls simultaneously. And so, with the criticism about my lay count, there's about 300 through Cold Approach. Mostly house parties and nightclubs, and then day game more so over the last decade. Day game's been my prime method of meeting girls over the last decade, definitely as I've got older. It's been the only way I've been able to keep up. Very few have been online unless I go to Asia, so that's 75 or more. If we're going to be conservative, a large percentage of them were pipelining numbers when I would arrive. Then I'd also get a lot through Cold Approach. Like two days ago, I got an SDL, if you know what that means. I met a girl at the mall and took her home in the same day. So there has been, and pulling girls from nightclubs as well. So a lot of that notch count, that body count, has been through Cold Approach as well, but a larger percentage has been pipelining numbers online. It's just more efficient. One girl will come around at lunchtime almost every day, and it's pretty easy to do. So hopefully that clears things up. I just wanted to keep talking about it. I'll keep talking about it as long as people don't understand it. The idea that I've only been like in Asia picking up 4B girls, it's just factually incorrect, because 300 or more have been through Cold Approach in a first world country. So just keep that in mind. I think it's an important topic for me to bring up. I know I'm right, and I know that a lot of the guys that left those comments and bitched and moaned in the comments going, oh, he's just picking up Asian girls. It's like, well, how old and how disabled and decrepit do I have to get before getting an Asian girl becomes a thing? Especially when you take into the factor that a wealthy American dude can't build his harem in Asia, yet was able to build a massive harem of hotties in South America. Like, do I have to be 70 years old and still pulling SDLs with 20-year-olds in Asia before I get the kudos I deserve for that? And anyway, those guys that question that, those are the guys that are not getting laid and they don't understand what's happening anyway. They're not the type of guys that are going to pay for coaching. They're not the type of guys that are of any use to me anyway. And the purpose of me making these videos is to get clients for Cold Approach coaching. That's the main purpose of it. So yeah, body count does matter, but it's complicated for a coach, and it has to be through Cold Approach if the coach has to be taken seriously. I would say I tick those boxes. I'd say I'm quite credible there, and I'd say I'm downplaying my results big time to avoid being accused of someone who exaggerates too much. So yeah, if you're in Australia, because that's where I'm based, by the way, I'm not based in Asia. I've just done a few trips this year. I'm based in Australia, more particularly in Sydney. If you want to learn the sweet art of cold approach, I'm your man. Now this isn't being arrogant, but in Sydney there's not too many coaches, and I can hands down say that I'm the best coach in Sydney. Best cold approach coach, probably the most legitimate in Australia there is. And I would say that would be, I don't think that would be a stretch. I don't think it would be a difficult thing to achieve either. But it's interesting looking at all this traffic. I like it for some reason. It's interesting to me. But yeah, if you're in Sydney, you're in Australia, and you want an experienced coach that, as I just explained, has a large body count and knows what he's doing, focuses on cold approach, and you want to learn that yourself, and you're struggling to get laid, then hit me up. Go to the website, fill out the form, and we'll get into some coaching straight away. See you in the next video.